Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. XRP price will hit $25 if ETF approved, then 90% crash, new analysis says. Okay, couple things right off the bat here. First of all, as far as I'm concerned, it is a virtual certainty that XRP absolutely will be approved. Multiple firms will get approved for XRP ETFs. And this can happen potentially, depending on exactly when this lands, can happen during this bull market this year. It's possible. It could magically line up that way. And so, yes, that could be something in a hot market where things are really shooting to the upside, because we'll get back to that. We will. We're going to get out of this consolidation phase. It could be any piece of good news that really sets XRP on fire. It could. And so I think it would happen regardless, but sometimes it's just one of the situations where it's just like the straw that broke the camel's back, that type of thing. And so I absolutely buy into the concept that XRP is going to rip to the upside, enterprise discovery, and melt faces, and it will get into bubble territory. It's going to inflate. But I'm here for it. Like, that's been part of my plan. I'm fully anticipating that. That's what happens to crypto assets, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, so on and so forth. It's not some terrible thing. But market's going to get a bit exuberant. That will happen. And then there will be a crash. It's a question of, is it going to crash 70, 80, 90%? I don't know. We'll find out together. But even that will create new opportunities. I will buy back all the XRP that I sell, or at least as much as I can afford. It will be at a higher level. So maybe I'll never be able to afford the same amount of XRP that I have now ever again. And if so, that's fine. But these types of price levels are not crazy. And so having something like this as a catalyst, not crazy. Like, that could happen. I still think we're going to have a crazy run, even if the timing doesn't match up. So, like, even if we have alt season and then, ETF doesn't get approved until way later, still going to be fine. But this, I admit, like, this still is something that could set this off here. And there's so much reason to be optimistic. Like, the amount of money that will flow into XRP over a span of years and decades because of this type of thing, it's very difficult to overstate the degree to which that will be substantial, because it will materially impact the supply and demand dynamics for XRP. Because if people are buying an ETF that's backed by XRP, that means that the firm that runs that, they are literally buying XRP. They're holding it. It's just that the end user, the customer, just owns the ETF itself. But it makes XRP become purchased. If the amount of money is going to flow in, especially with XRP, it's already been decided by the market that XRP is an early winner of the crypto space. It just is. I can't take anyone seriously at this point if they're going to argue that XRP isn't a winner. It already won. It already happened. We're done. We just have to, and from that sense, we're done. But now we just have to wait for the rest of the world to figure it out and to see more and more adoption. The types of adoption and real world utility and fundamentals getting stronger that we've been seeing throughout 2024, since the election especially, and throughout this entire year. We're just going to see more and more of that. It's just going to get even better. So let's jump into this. Right down here. The likelihood of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission approving a spot XRP exchange-traded fund ETF in 2025 jumped to 98% on Tuesday, according to Polymarket data. Folks, when I saw that, my jaw dropped. I knew it was high. I had covered this before, but I hadn't seen an update in probably, I don't know, at least a few weeks probably. And so I think it was closer to 80% last time I reported on this. The market is usually right, by the way. And so Polymarket here reporting over 98%, 98.2% odds of this thing getting approved this year. Yeah. And I bet they're right. It seems like a virtual certainty. The United States is not anti-crypto anymore because of the way the election went down. I just love to see it. Anyway, piece continues. Multiple spot XRP ETF applications from major players like Bitwise, Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, and 21 Shares have intensified pressure on the SEC, signaling robust demand for regulated XRP investment vehicles. Folks, that's another thing I want you to keep in mind. Set Bitcoin aside, if we're just talking about altcoins, XRP has, by a lot, the most companies that have filed for an ETF. That's because of demand. They wouldn't just be doing it for funsies. They're doing it because it's got the most demand. I think, and I'm pulling from memory here, so I could be mistaken, but I think Solana's number 2 on that list, and it may have like 6 or 7 last I checked, unless I missed some, but I think it's like 6 or 7 firms that were filing for a Solana ETF. But for XRP, it's at least 11 different firms. Doesn't that tell you something? You are not the only one that thinks XRP makes sense. The rest of the world is just slowly figuring it out. But like I said, it already won. Anyway, the launch of XRP futures ETFs by the CME Group on May 19th with $19 million in first-day trading volume demonstrated market maturity and institutional interest addressing SEC concerns about regulated derivatives markets. That's right, folks. That's a lot of demand for a first day product and for futures. That's not even spot. That's incredible. And yes, that does signal institutional interest, unquestionably. 3 companies across different sectors have unveiled plans to invest over $471 million in XRP treasuries, including Webus International's $300 million XRP strategic reserve filing with the SEC, further underscoring corporate adoption and growing institutional trust. Okay, and I actually reported in my very last video that we got another update. That's not the biggest one anymore, outside of Ripple, of course. Now there's a $500 one, $500 million XRP reserve that's getting launched by a publicly traded company based out of Singapore. They're called, I can't remember the full name. It's Trident something group, something like that. The name's escaping me, even though I already published a video earlier this. It's Trident something, but anyway, that's huge. And that's on top of the 4 other publicly traded companies that announced that they were launching XRP reserves in May. And all 4 of those firms, by the way, on top of using XRP as a strategic reserve, they're also using XRP for various applications, as I reported. And that's on top of other publicly traded companies. There had been a few dating back to December of last year that had also started their own XRP strategic reserves. Now, I'm telling you, folks, they wouldn't be doing this if they didn't firmly believe that XRP is going to be worth way, way, way more in the future, or else they're eroding their capital otherwise. But they realize that this is where the real opportunity is. They know that keeping it in like a fiat currency, which gets debased no matter what country you're talking about, that's not the way to go, obviously. The way to go, if you got some cojones, is you put it in crypto, because obviously the crypto pie just keeps getting bigger. Anyway, these factors and Ripple's legal clarity after the SEC dropped a lawsuit in March have bolstered market sentiment. Despite SEC delays on the filings, the CME futures market success and corporate strategies have driven Polymarket's approval odds from 68% in April to as high as 98% in early June, reflecting expectations for approvals by December 31st. And check this out, folks. Approval of these funds could unlock institutional capital, amplifying demand for XRP and potentially driving prices higher, with some analysts predicting $50 if major players like BlackRock step in. Okay, the idea of XRP hitting $50 at some unknown point in the future, not crazy at all. That concept is safely grounded within the confines of reality as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know if it's going to happen. That's not a price prediction, but I know that's the type of thing that is absolutely possible in crypto for sure. And with XRP being a winner, if there's no time parameter on it, then like, wouldn't you lean towards eventually, yeah, it just happens? Because adoption's going one way, folks. It's getting bigger for XRP and crypto in general, but specifically XRP. You love to see it. It couldn't freaking be more obvious here, folks. Just saying. And then there's this, XRP Solana poised to take off amid rocketing institutional demand, analyst says. This is another article. This one's new. Yes, this is correct. Volatility in crypto markets is rising, but smart money is clustering around some major tokens with booming on-chain ecosystems. Crypto markets wobbled on Thursday as traders reacted to renewed military action in the Middle East, with Israel's reported airstrikes on Iran prompting a broader risk-off move. I've talked about that. But while Bitcoin and major assets dipped in early Asian hours, majors such as XRP and Solana are still seeing tailwinds from institutional narratives, analysts say. No kidding. Again, XRP has been selected the world over as an actual winner. Already happened, folks. And the price is going to catch up with the value, because I still believe that the price of XRP is much lower than it would have been had the government not jumped in and tinkered with things and filed that bullshit lawsuit against Ripple. Had they not done that, price would be higher. So the world is healing still, and certainly like to see that. But that tells you something. And then there's this, BlackRock to eventually file for an XRP ETF store president. And they're covering this post from Nate Garachi. He is the president of the ETF store. He does know his stuff. And he's saying what I've been saying forever, ever since the first company, even before that, actually, I talked about this. I always told you, like going back, actually probably at least the last couple of years, I was like, BlackRock's coming. And, there's going to be a Bitcoin ETF. And again, this is a couple of years ago. And one day they're going to get an XRP. Now, it just seems obvious, but especially after firms officially started filing for XRP ETFs, I brought this point up last year. Like, do you think that BlackRock's just going to cede that ground to them? It's like, yeah, competitors, you go ahead and take all of those trading revenues. You take all that profit. We're BlackRock, the largest asset manager on the planet, with like 11 trillion assets under management. We don't want that profit. Really? Do you think they're going to do that? No. And Nate Garachi came to the same common sense conclusion here that I did. And so here just the other day he wrote, I still fully expect BlackRock to file for spot Solana and XRP ETFs. As leader in both spot Bitcoin and ETH ETFs, it would make 0 sense to cede other top crypto asset ETF categories to competitors. Related, I also fully expect BlackRock to file for index-based crypto asset ETF. Yeah, and that's going to be coming too. And XRP is going to be part of that. If you're talking about like a multi-coin asset pack, effectively, that's what it would be, an index. Yeah, you better believe that XRP is going to be a part of those as well. And that also requires XRP to be purchased. So you'll love to see it. Absolutely. And then there's also this. From CoinCentral, Grayscale crypto fund with XRP may get ETF nod before Solana, Garachi. And so it's the same guy here, the ETF store president, Nate Garachi, said, sounds like this may be first in line for approval before spot Solana ETFs includes XRP and Cardano. Pretty clear where all this is heading. So he does still think, of course, again, there's going to be multiple XRP ETFs approved, duh, and this is the world he lives in, so this isn't some sort of fly-by-night individual. He knows it's coming. But he has a suspicion that the Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund is going to get approved first, and that's a multi-coin basket. That is an index right there. It's got Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. So he's saying that. So it's kind of interesting to think the first approval of XRP in a spot ETF would be, it could be, if he's right here, and he could be, instead of it being its own thing, its own standalone, it could just be as part of a multi-coin index, effectively, which is fine. It's not. I'm not going to have a complaint. I'll be very happy for that. But I'll be more excited when you do finally see the SEC approve the individual XRP ETFs from multiple firms. And I'm telling you, like there are going to be so many of these things get approved. The amount of money that flows in over a long period of time is going to be just otherworldly. Like the demand, because look, XRP is a deflationary asset. It's finite, and you just happen to be here early. You're lucky. Like the quantities of XRP that so many people listening have right now are going to be just about impossible to attain in the future when the price is way higher. Just will be, those quantities of XRP will be out of reach for the everyday person, but they're possible now. And this is why you can still have your opportunity for life-changing wealth. It's just incredible. Like this is just an amazing time to be an XRP holder. And this is real life. And after all the shit that we went through over the last roughly half a decade, it's just so refreshing. We're so vindicated. The fundamentals just keep getting stronger and stronger. And so I feel like I know what's going to happen with virtual 100% certainty, just in a general sense, which means further XRP adoption, price goes way, way, way up compared to where it is now. I'm not making a price prediction, but I'm just saying way higher than where it is now. I think that's reasonable to suspect, right? It's so freaking obvious. It's never been more obvious that XRP is here to stay. It just is a winner. And if it weren't, do you think that all these huge names, these large institutions, would be throwing money into XRP left and right? And it's worth mentioning this too. And I brought this up in a video the other day. And I think I briefly mentioned in my very last video, but I want to repeat it again. I want people to know this. There's somebody who is speaking, I can't remember who it was now because it's off the top of my head, but somebody was speaking with one of the top 5 banks, and I can't list all of them, but it's, there's a Bank of America, JP Morgan, Citigroup, US Bank, and there's another one. Somebody was having a meeting with one of the top 5 banks, one of the largest banks on the entire damn planet. And they said that there's the big 4, which would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Solana, and then there's everything else. That's from one of the largest banks on the planet. One of the largest banks on the planet says XRP already won. Like, it just could not be more clear. And here we have XRP at this price. It's just amazing. It's truly astonishing, folks. This is the type of stuff that I hoped and dreamed of when I jumped into crypto in 2017, and here it's happening. It's absolutely happening. Wild. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.